Good morning. It is Monday. This is
Man, it sure is.
Millennials and Money. We didn't choose the name, but we are millennials and we make money, so we just kind of
Try to.
we rolled with it. So today I want to talk to. Well, I'm Kelsey McDaniel. This is Chris Zender, and I want to talk to Chris Zender about communication because he is a rock star salesperson, whatever that means. And I learn from him every Monday. So
You know, the weird thing about a rock star salesperson is my lifestyle is not like a rock star lifestyle. So
tell me about that. What'd
it's
you do
really
this
boring.
weekend?
Oh, well, I did go to Las Vegas for a bachelor party, but I was just concerned about all the prices of everything. It's way too expensive. But
So you paid the cover to get in, but then you didn't buy anything once you were there.
no, it was $40 to get in, which I always thought it's never a good idea to pay money to get into a place where you're going to spend money. Apparently, people think differently, but
Okay.
hey, when you're going to pay $40 for a drink, I'm just not going to do it.
That makes sense. You know what? That's frugal. I respect that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of videos out there, and I'm not the first to tell you that millennials communicate in a different way. We have apps, we have our cell phones, texting, and all that. So that's nothing new. But the reality is, it does affect the way that we communicate. So whether that's new information or not, it is what it is. But as far as sales goes, people are going to buy you before they ever buy your product. And so they need to learn to trust you. They need to be confident in your ability to give them what you're promising them.
Sure.
So when you're communicating with a prospect and a client, is your preferred way like email or just in truth, would you rather email them?
No, I'd rather just give them a call.
You really
I think
would.
it's really a lot easier, and there's
Is
so
it
many
because
benefits.
of how effective that is?
Yes, there's so many benefits to having a voice phone call because, for one thing, you can pick up on all the nonverbal cues, which,
Right.
What are they really saying when they're saying something? So I always like to pick up the phone and just figure out what their demeanor is, if they're pissed off about something, or if they're, I like to be able to talk to them.
Right.
But even
well,
more
because
important,
your tone and your facial expressions, obviously, it gets lost over email and it can be misinterpreted. So I totally understand that. But like, if you were going to text, or if you needed to talk to me, like over a weekend, if you had a question about something, would you call me or would you just shoot me a text?
probably just an email or a text. Yeah.
Okay.
But
it's different.
It's
for
different
your
because
clients.
this is just like bits of information.
True.
When you're, especially for a new prospect or new business, I think that, well, I know that the phone and all of the nonverbal kind of cues they can pick up on are extremely important. And they always pick up on emotion first. So if they like you, if they think you're, a trustworthy person, then they're more likely to move on to the next steps. So
right.
without that, generating rapport, I don't really think you can truly move forward unless you're just purely transactional.
Well, it's a lot more challenging to say no to you when they know you.
Yeah.
And so you need to be aware of how your communication style impacts other people.
Yeah, it's a lot harder when they like you too, to say no.
Yeah.
So, I pick up the phone. It's easier. You get things done like that, and you don't have to break it out over 10 different chunks of emails, which takes just forever, I think.
Well, okay, so that's one thing that we've covered a bunch of times, and it obviously speaks for itself. If you're in sales, pick up the damn phone. But also, I feel like even in an admin role, I'm not in sales, but I have to build relationships with other people.
It's easy to dodge an email.
It
but
is.
If you pick
I
up
do
the
it
phone,
all the time.
Shoot, it's Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got me now.
That's hilarious. Well, okay, so I actually have a rule that if it takes more than 2 emails to get to the point, I just will call the person.
Yeah, I'll just avoid that altogether. It's just so much easier for me.
You're like one step ahead of me then. So I heard something this weekend, and I was like, oh, I love that, and I'm going to steal that. And the quote is, "You can't be delusional and successful at the same time."
I don't know. Have you talked to Bill lately?
Wait, what does that mean?
I'm just playing.
No, but the point was, you have to know what it is that you want and what you're willing to give up to get it, because life is a trade-off. So you can't be delusional and successful at the same time. You can't think that you can go in and work a 9-to-5 job Monday through Friday and have the success that you want, because a 9-to-5 job, it's kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of nothing to be celebrated, Everyone else is working a 9 to 5 job. So if you want to get ahead, you have to do a lot more. What are your thoughts on that?
I was going in a different direction first.
Oh, okay.
With the delusional part, I think, okay, I'll answer what you asked me, but
okay.
I think people are delusional about where they are and what they are. So people aren't really accepting, like, you really have to figure out where you actually are and then where you want to be. And then so if you have this goal or this dream of what you want to do, you got to figure out where you are, because you're going to have to change something to fill in this gap of, hey, I want to make $1 million a year, but I'm only making $50,000 a year, or $30,000 or $12,000 a year, whatever it is, or $100,000 or $200,000. I'm only making $250,000 a year, and I want to get here. So you have to realize that there's a gap, and you're not gonna bridge that gap unless you do something different, because what you're doing now has got you to be at this point. Say you're at $250,000 a year. So you have to do something different to be able to bridge the next $750,000 and be able to make $1 million a year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So if you don't figure out where you are, and if you're not really honest about your skills or your lack of skills, and what you need to improve to be able to get there, then you're never going to be able to do it, because you're kind of lying to yourself, and therefore you're not going to make any changes that need to happen.
I have a follow-up question, but did you want to go?
No, that's.
Oh, well, how soon in your career did you realize that that's the reality?
After a few hard reality checks.
Meaning?
So it took me a little while to figure that out, but after I fell flat on my face at my last job several times, then it started to take effect. And I used to be of the mindset that, as long as you think positive and as long as you visualize it, then you're going to get it. But that's just simply not the case, or at least that's not the case for what I've found.
Yeah. Maybe
for some people, they can just will stuff into existence, but
I don't believe in that.
I don't see anybody walking up and handing me checks on the street. So yeah. I realized that, after a few hard times of not selling much and not making much money, that, hey, I can't just show up and make a lot of money. You got to work and do the things that make you very uncomfortable.
And part of what makes me uncomfortable, I guess, and like this is just complete honesty, and it's a little bit embarrassing, but developing that emotional intelligence, that is absolutely something that I struggle with. I am a texter and emailer by default, and so I have to train myself. Okay, if there's some sort of disconnect over this email, just pick up the phone and call them and sort it out. Yeah. But that is something that I have to actually actively work on, because I don't want to say I'm not emotionally intelligent, but reading other people's, facial expressions isn't something that I was naturally gifted with. It's something that I kind of had to learn. And so there's obviously a lot of TED Talks, and there's a lot of, even just listening to certain podcasts, laying it out. There's a lot of information out there that can help you develop that emotional intelligence skill.
And practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
I always say that you're not going to learn as much unless you're out there, using it.
Right.
So, but back to you asked me the delusion of the 9 to 5.
Where were you going to go with that?
So I think that you can be successful and work 9 to 5. That's what I do. I work 8:30 to 5. It wasn't always like that. I would come in earlier or later, but what really matters is how you use your time. So if you have somebody in your office to take over the administrative tasks, you can be successful. You can be a successful person and still work 40, 50 hours a week. I think. I don't think there's any. I think that's a common misconception, is that the more hours you work, the more success you're going to have. I don't think that's the truth anymore. I don't
know. I get what you're saying, because it needs to be directed activity for sure. It can't just be frantic, oh, I got to do this, and running around like Bill says with a chicken with its head cut off. But I know you. I've sent emails to you over the weekend, and you respond right away. So
but that's not because I'm working. It's because I only have one phone. I only have one phone. It's my work phone and my life phone.
I was thinking this whole time, wow, that Chris Zender, he's never off the clock. But
I'm never off the clock, but I'm not sitting on the weekends. I'm relaxing. I'm recharging my gears.
You're in Vegas?
I was in Vegas this weekend, but not by choice. It's a bachelor party. I had to go. And I'm usually just trying to get back to neutral to start, fresh.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't balance it, you'll burn yourself out pretty quick.
But if you're passionate about your job and you find something that you love to do, or you just find the joy in it, I mean, obviously, like, there's certain aspects of any role that can be a complete drag, but I don't know. I just think that there's a lot of people that they punch in at 9 and then they go to lunch and then they punch out at 5 and they just mail in the day. And they think that, like, oh, well, in 10 years from now, I'm going to be a homeowner. I'm going to have, like, other properties and different cars. That's my boss that just walked by. Mark Wooditch. But they think that they're going to be, this certain level of, they're going to reach a certain level of achievement, but they're not going to do anything to actually, like, get there. They're just going to do the bare minimum. I
think we actually said the same thing. We kind of circled it around, but we were kind of saying the exact same thing.
Yeah. Because so at my last job, my boss was, like, just the coolest guy ever. He was a tank commander in the Army. Like, he was intense. And I can't remember if this was him or he was talking about, like, a baseball coach that he knew, but he was saying that his son was going to graduate high school, and somebody said, oh, do you want to take the day off to go see your son's high school graduation? And he said, no, why would I go to my son's high school graduation? He has to graduate high school. That's the bare minimum. Like, when he does something, like, exciting, like graduate college, like, yes, I will celebrate that. But I'm not going to celebrate. Life. I know, it's super tough, right? Like, luckily, I have parents that were thrilled that I even just graduated junior high, but
then just don't set the bar too low.
I'm kidding. But that's kind of how I feel about, like, the people that come in at 9 to 5 and they just mail in the day. It's like that. I don't think that you did a good job today. Like, you just mailed it in.
You're here.
You're present.
You showed up.
You're present. But
well, I think that's probably the majority of people. They come in at 9.
Mm-hmm.
They do a little work. They go to lunch. They do a little work. They go home. But that's why I say, like, you can come in at 8:30. I'm an 8:30 to 5 kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Put that extra 30 minutes in.
We pulled up at the same time.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And,
I was like 2 minutes behind.
And it was like 7:45.
Yeah.
No, it was like 8:15. 8:10. And
stick with 7:45.
So yeah, I think that you can either come to work and work up as much as you possibly, get as much out of your day as possible, and that means doing the right things, not necessarily doing more things, but the right things, because everybody has their own role, and for me that means maximizing the block of time that I have to prospect and get new clients by phone, email, what have you.
Well, there's a book. Let me grab it. Hold on. It's called Always Forward. There's a chapter on what we're talking about, activity, rule, success. So if you haven't read Always Forward, shame on you, first of all. And then second, go buy this book. Read the chapter, Activity, Rule, Success. It lays out, I think, a lot.
I read it.
A lot more intelligent.
And the problem with the book I found is that Bill already taught me all of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you already knew.
So it's just like listening to Bill talk.
Oh, and this pen I'm playing with, Activity, Rule, Success.
There we go.
Well, do you have anything else to add? That was pretty much...
What else did you have? Wrote a lot of stuff down here.
We covered it all.
Huh. Hey, maybe next time we could talk about some practical things. Like, one thing I wanted to talk about is when you first started a company, how you figure out what your company does well. Maybe we'll save that for next Monday.
Do you want to? Or do you want to kind of...
let's do it next Monday.
Do you want to give them a sneak preview?
Yeah, so, I think it's important that you should really know what your company does well and what your potential customers think your company does well. So
and why is that?
So that you can sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you get a client, they don't shortly thereafter leave because you promised the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and he's at a large food distribution company. There's like 3 of them in it, and so the company, they roll out a ton of different things all the time. And, corporate executives are saying, here's what you should sell. Here's what, here's our new product. You can do this online and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I looked at him, and he was telling me all the issues that he was having with it. And I was like, well, what do the customers want? Do they care about that? He's like, no, they don't. So instead of listening to what your corporate higher up down message is being sent, and especially if you're at a huge company where they roll, the they have like 30, 40 jobs for people to do this stuff where it's just complete BS, and they don't sell anything, so they don't really know. They're just rolling out features that could be meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's a lot of different ways that you can go about figuring out what your company really does, and it's not that difficult. But I'm gonna leave that for next time, a little
Okay.
teaser.
I like it.
So maybe we'll get 2 or 3 more people to show up next time.
Perfect. Okay, well, this has been Millennials and Money. I'm a millennial. My name's Kelsey McDaniel.
I'm Chris Zender.
We'll see you next week.